Today we're going to be covering a bunch of different Guardians for Silver Age. We're going to break this over 2 videos. Today we're going to be covering the more generic Guardians, so non-talented Guardians. So we'll have Valda, both the Bravos, and then Betsy. Valda gets to start at 21 health, which is a pretty cool buff in this format. I don't think there's any other hero with that amount of health. And whenever your opponent draws one or more cards during their action phase, you make that many seismic surges. Now, unfortunately, people don't really draw cards in Silver Age. There's not a whole lot of effects that are going to draw things outside of maybe like Hope Merchant's Hood in Zen. Marginally, you will have a hero text box, but into a lot of games, you are just going to be a 21 blank hero. You do have the text set at the start of your turn. If you control 3 or more seismic surge tokens, cards you control with Crush are going to have Dominate. So if you, for some reason, end up with 3 seismics, you will get Dominate on your thing. So it's pretty good, but we're not playing a whole lot of seismic generators. We're mainly just playing generic Guardian good stuff. We do have a couple seismic generators, though. We have cards like Aftershock, where if you attack and you control the seismic surge at the start of the turn, you're going to make one on the back end. And then we also have Crash and Bash, where you can reveal a Crush card and get a seismic. We also have Richter Scale, where you can just block out and then kind of set up by sticking a Crush card in Arsenal, activating the Richter Scale, going up to 2. And then if you have something like a Crash and Bash on your opponent's turn to make that 3rd, then you'll also meet the condition for Valda's hero text. We also have a couple cards down in our blues. We have Promising Terrain, where whenever you would make Spectral Shields after you play this, you make them any +1, so it doubles up. Think about like Flooring or Mordred Tide. Same goes for Tectonic Instability, where each hero puts a card from their arsenal on the bottom of their deck, and then they draw a card. So since your opponent will be drawing a card, you will be triggering Valda, and then you're going to make Seismic Surges equal the number of cards drawn this way. So if you play it, you're going to make 3, assuming that you also have an arsenal, because you and your opponent are both going to bottom and draw a new card. You'll make 2, and then Valda will trigger because your opponent drew a card, so you will make 3. So pretty good stuff. And then we also have Draw a Crowd, but this one's a little bit more sketchy. I'm trying it out, but I'm not really sure if it's worth playing, because giving your opponent a free draw is kind of crazy. You play it, and when it enters the arena, your opponent draws a card, and at the beginning of your next action phase, you break it, and your next Guardian attack gets +3. The rest of this deck is very standard Guardian cards. So we have cards like Boulder Drop. We have, Cartilage Crush, Disable, Fault Line. These are just good Crush cards with good on hits. We have Pummel to push them over. We are trying out Blessing and Deliverance just as a way to draw some more cards and gain some more life during your own turn. It's just a block 3 that converts well. In our sideboard, we have Crush the Weak and Choke Slam as more crushes with disruptive on hits. You also have some blues that you can play. Like you have blue Crush the Weak. It's just like if you draw all blues and your opponent blocks out and does nothing, you can play them if it's the right spot to do so. But a lot of times these are just kind of here as a backup. And then the rest of the equipment is just, just life gain, basically just good blocking armor. Only thing worth noting here is Gauntlet. You can crack to get +2, which can be pretty good because you can block for 1 and then use it aggressively. And then we also have Oasis and some Norrun. So overall, it's just a very standard value-oriented Guardian list. You can fatigue a lot of people accidentally. You can kill a lot of people accidentally. You can kind of do whatever you want. It's a very mid-rangey list. With that being said, we'll go ahead and jump into a game. We got a game in a fight here. We opt to go second just because if you draw any of your Crush effects, going second inherently gives you a little bit more tempo. And I think that I would probably prefer that in this matchup. So we're kind of blocking down here. Looks like my fight opponent is just trying to go wide or potentially set up fealty on turn 1. Yeah, it looks like it was just to get the fealty, but we get a little bit lucky because we get to filter a little bit. All right, we kind of end up drawing nothing here, but we'll go and see what our rip is off the draw crowd. Okay, not really a whole lot. So overall, not fantastic. We can send the Cartilage Crush. I guess we'll go ahead and send it. The problem is they can just stick the armor in front and just blow us up. Probably was kind of a bad call to even play that card. All right, they boggled the fridge. We're probably dead, but you never know. So I guess we'll put the Cartilage Crush in Arsenal. Fault Line would have been a great draw. Any of these actually would have been really good when you compare to what we ended up with. I think our goal here is we want to block with, I guess, the Fault Line and the Pummel. It really sucks because, like, if we just have one more Seismic, we can Pummel the Crush the Weak, but we're just not really going to get that kind of option here. They're going to come with the Crouching Tiger. I think we'll cash in the Civic Steps here. This deck goes very wide. I don't know if they're going to be able to abuse the Quicken. Okay, so they end up playing an Ender here, so that's pretty good, but I mean, it's not like they're playing Snatch or anything. Unless if they also have like Lava Burst, and this doesn't really It doesn't really add all that much, honestly, for their, like turn cycle on the whole. So we'll see. If they have Lava Burst, and it's like a pretty major blowout, because then we just like gave them the free card and the free quicken, but I kind of gambled that I didn't really think it would matter. We'll go ahead and stick the Richter scale in front of this just to stop the on hit in case they have a 1 cost here. They're gonna grab the Phoenix Flame. We'll take that, that's fine. 3 will, this is really risky, because if they have a Chain Ender, then we can't convert blocking the pummel, so I guess we need to use it here. And then if they have something like Snatch, we'll stick 4 in front. Looks like they don't have a Chain Ender, so our Quicken ends up being perfectly fine as a play. We're gonna get to this and crush the weak here, which will be very good, because it's gonna come in for 10. Basically demands their whole hand here. So we get a block for 8. It's good for us. All cards my opponent should have sent in our face, but didn't get to do. They're just going to pass back. So we have a lot of different options. I kind of wish we blocked this Gauntlet so we could just use it, and it's not incredibly inefficient to do. We're going to go ahead and overpitch like this to get rid of this red out of the hand in case if we convert again. I want to at least kind of clear out some of the reds so I have more blues to work with. They end up just taking the full 7. That actually feels very good for us. I would have definitely prefer that they take that line, especially if they, oh man, if they pitch just to send Flame for 0, I think we're kind of cooking right now. We'll block for 3 to stop the mark. And then we could either block for 3, we could play the Promising Terrain. I'm assuming we're probably just going to block with it here. I think that makes the most sense. And they still haven't played their Arsenal yet, so I don't quite know what it is. Okay, it's just another Blaze, that's fine. If that's the case, I think we'll just block with the Gauntlet now, in case if we make them block out to the Boulder Drop, and then we draw a bunch of blues and we want to actually crack the Gauntlet. So they say no blocks. Okay, they just go to 1. That's interesting. So now we, on any break point, just kind of start ripping their entire hand from them. I think they bricked again. Okay, that's a little unfortunate. I think they also could just block though. That's always how this kind of stuff goes. Like, if you brick like this, you probably can just realistically like just block out and pass, but I don't really quite know the texture of their hand. We know the top card of their deck is a Phoenix Flame though, so we definitely want to just take all the damage to send Crush the weak. All right, so they send Snatch. We're gonna go ahead and it's tough because like we're really gambling if we were to play the Tectonic Instability. It would be fun to do it, but we're really gambling that we draw a blue. I'm just not gonna take a gamble here. I'm just gonna kind of guarantee that we rip their whole hand. We know that 1 card will be a non-block, so if they have, let's say, a 2-block in hand, like if they have 2 blocks, we just win the game here. They have to have at least 2 3-blocks. Okay, they do have it. And then they're just going to play Flame for 0. We're going to say no blocks on this. All right, they pass, which means they get to do some pretty cool stuff. We'll at least use our hero power a little bit. We'll play Promising Terrain, so whenever we make 1 or more seismics, we create them any +1. Okay, my opponent decides to scoop. Fair enough. We're going to play Tectonic, cycle this. Let's see what we would have drawn. We would have drawn Cartilage Crush off the top. Next up, we have Bravo Flattering Showman, who I think is actually a pretty good deck in this format. This was a recent Mastery Pack Guardian Smash Palace adjacent card that they released. This is what you're going to be playing with your demo decks from now on if you were to go and try learning the game. And it's a very clearly power creates version of the original Bravo. So we have the original Bravo here, where you're going to pay 2 until end of turn. Your attack action cards with 3 or more costs get Dominate. This is mainly just going to be used to play Crush cards with Dominate. So you can play something like Boulder Drop and give it Dominate. The difference is that Flattering Showman, you do the same thing, but if it's in your arsenal, then you're going to turn it face up. And if it has Crush, it's going to get +2 and Dominate. So in my opinion, I think that this is a very clearly power crept version of original Bravo. It's almost exactly the same hero text, but this gets +2. The only difference is that you can activate something like original Bravo and send the damage directly on turn 1. Like you can just pitch and then play it and go face. This will always require you to kind of be like a turn behind because you have to arsenal the card first to do it. But I think that it's probably better overall. So these lists are exactly the same. The only difference is I cut a few cards so that you can kind of swap to Mono Anathos and Bravo because you can go ahead and pitch to Bravo, fail to send an attack afterwards, and then pitch another card to send Anathos. So you can just do your 2-card 6 with your 2 blues. But these are almost identical, and I probably would just suggest playing Flattering Showman over the original Bravo. The only difference here is that we have some more Clash cards. This just helps you push your Crush effects a little bit more aggressively. And we also have cards like Test of Vigor and Clash of Vigor. That way you can make a Vigor token and then cash in a tryout using Helm of Eisen's Peak. I thought this might be kind of a cool tech to do with 5 cards. You need to keep more cards and, Bravo than you would in something like Valda. Because you're going to need to keep an extra card, pitch to actually activate the hero tech. So I thought that playing with the Helm of Eisen's Peak might be kind of interesting. It's just a different way to try out the list. But overall, it's almost identical. We just have a couple extra block 4s, and you're going to be trying to cycle cards in your arsenal to push over. So this deck kind of plays like Azalea would be the way I would kind of describe it. Our sideboard is relatively the same, but we're trying out Edge of Their Seats and Staunch Response instead. I think that this list can be a little bit more aggressive. So I think that having the Edge of Their Seats is more helpful compared to something like Valda, where you can play Edge of Their Seats. And then next turn, you can arsenal a card. And then the turn after, when the Edge of Their Seats pops, you'll have a card in your arsenal you can go ahead and pitch to Bravo to reveal. At which point it will have +2 from the Bravo and then +5 from the Edge of Their Seats. So it's going to have +7 in addition to Dominate. Dominate's incredibly good in this format because there are very few D-Reacts. Unless someone is playing something like a movable directly from the arsenal, or you're playing against a Rune Blade that still has access to cards like Reduce to Rune Chant or Sigil of Suffering, you are basically just sending true Dominate damage to your opponent. This is very good. So overall, those are the 2 lists for both of the Bravos. The only difference in this one, once again, is just that we're trying to play Anathos because it's just like the one interesting thing that this deck can do. And it is worth mentioning, though, that you can, get a lot of equity not having to wait to Arsenal with this version of Bravo. So it could be that you might just want to play this version because it's a little bit smoother. I just think that the newest version feels like a strictly better version in my mind, but there are very clear advantages to playing the original. We got a game into Riptide. They opt to take the play, which with the Guardian cards, I think inherently will kind of put you favored on either end. Either you go first and you get to Arsenal something, in which case you'll get to activate Bravo, or like in this case, we're going to go second, and all we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and send, we can either send Chokeslam or Fault Line. It's kind of tough. I haven't seen enough of the Riptide's deck yet, so I don't really quite know what the deck plays like, but I'm going to opt to just taking the Chokeslam line on the off chance that they are playing pumps. I guess the safer one would be the Fault Line, but this is more damage. We can convert the hand pretty easily here going second. So I'll take, the one that's slightly higher damage. Let's see. Do we want to pay 1? This doesn't matter. Okay, so they just have a trap in Arsenal. So I guess I'm glad we didn't take the Fault Line. We'll go ahead and Arsenal our Boulder Drop. This hand is absolute garbage. So what we're going to do is we're probably just going to block out and just activate the Richter Scale and do that whole play line. So they send Searing Shot for 7. Although I guess technically we can block like this, and then we can reveal one of these Crush cards and then send the Boulder Drop. So we can play through this hand, but it is pretty bad. And now we're kind of out of red threats between blocking with both Chokeslams, pitching, and blocking with 2 of the Fault Lines. Like, we're kind of already out of relevant on hits now, so we'll have to see how this game plays from here. All right, they have a trap, but it's not buffed, so they don't trigger anything here. It's good for us. We're gonna send Scar. We're just gonna block. All right, and then they send Swift Shot for 7. We're just gonna block for 6. Try to take as little damage as possible. Just send our Titan's Fist and pass. They play Boulder Drop. It's bad for us. It triggers on the Titan's Fist. It's a little bit unlucky for us that they drew them that early. So we lose a block off of the Buckler. Well, actually, technically we lose 2. We lose 2 life on that, so that's a pretty bad swing. But they're gonna go ahead and send Sedation Shot. We're just gonna, block for 6 and I guess send 7. I'm assuming they probably put a trap in their arsenal. We have a couple different options here. I'm kind of leaning towards just sending the Titan's Fist. We can arsenal the Boulder Drop, and then we actually can start activating Bravo here, which I think is kind of important. I know they have a D-React. Okay, they actually have an Inertia Trap. That's pretty awkward. We have some Testamites at least, so we can get some good blocking in here while still pressuring back a lot of damage. So we'll go and block with one of them. All right, we both whiff somehow. That's pretty hilarious. And then we'll go ahead and just, I guess we'll send Titan's Fist again. See if they have another Inertia Trap. That'd be pretty insane. They play Take Cover and opt not to reload. That's interesting. We'll go ahead and draw up here. With the Test of Vigors, we can use the Helm, so we can do our whole Helm trick. Okay, they're just passing back. I guess in that case, we're going to go ahead, activate Bravo, and then send the Cartilage Crush in for 7 Dominate. So at least we kind of convert to some damage here. We'll see what they do. I'll just pay the 1. It doesn't really matter. Play Pendulum Trap. That's fine. Doesn't do anything. I'm assuming their hand is just all traps. We'll see. I'm not going to arsenal anything here. We're just going to go ahead and pass. All right. They just pitch a trap and pass. Okay. Let's go ahead and send 4 again. Eventually, they're going to draw another inertia trap, and we're going to get kind of blown out, but that's okay. All right. So we'll, I guess, start by blocking with the Test of Might. We go ahead and make our Might token. That's good. Okay. So they play Lace into Searing Shot. We're just going to block for 7. This is kind of a no-brainer. We make a Vigor, but it doesn't really do anything because we don't have anything to spend it on. We're just going to go ahead and send 5 here. My opponent just blocks for 3. With the Boulder Shot, they take 2. Our turn is probably going to be blocking for 7, trying to send 8. I'm just trying to proactively fatigue my opponent at this point in the game. Like, they can't really win, I think, deterministically. And so I'm just trying to find a way to sort of just send tall enough damage to try to close it out. But the whole goal here, right, is we can't be taking any damage ourselves. We'll go and block for 5 like this. Hold up our 2 cards. So if they don't have another follow-up here, we're able to just send back our Thunderquake for 8. But and my opponent's down to so few cards in deck. Like, I know that there's a ton of traps still left. I just don't really know exactly how they're supposed to win. All right, here we are, multiple turns later. Yeah, we just block everything out. My opponent got to sneak in some damage with like the Pitfall traps at the end of the game, but I just have too much life. Betsy, we're gonna have a slightly different deck list for, because she has the text that whenever an attack you control wagers, you can pay an extra 2, and if you do, the attack gets +1 and overpowered. So kind of like a blend between Bravo and the new Bravo as well, where you can kind of convert your resources into giving the attack evasion, but also giving it a buff as well. So the wagering is going to be a little bit more important for this deck. So we're going to include a few more wager cards. This is going to be cards like Money Where Your Mouth Is. If you play this, you can curve it out with Anathos, where you can pitch 2 blues. So you can play the Money Where Your Mouth Is. You can swing the Anathos. You'll have 2 floating. At that point, you can wager on your Anathos attack, because this just says any attack. It can include weapons. At which point, you can pay the extra 2 and give the Anathos overpower. The Anathos will come in for 10 overpower. On hit, make a gold for your wager. So this can be like an incredible turn 1 high roll. If you draw this, like, you only need 3 cards to do this. It's very efficient, but this also can close out games really easily. When you get gold, you can use it to the Good Time Chapeau, where you can wager. This will just help you find an attack to give the +1 and the overpower to with Betsy if you really need to close out the game. Wagering on this is not all that important. I think most of the time you're going to be using this just as a block 3, because it's a temper 2, so you can block for 2 and then block for 1 with it. But the more cool thing you do with the gold is you can use cards like On the Horizon, know the top card of your deck, and then you can pitch to use the gold either to dig for a red to play on curve, or you can do things like you can block down to, let's say, 1 blue. And if you know the top of your deck is a blue, either from an opt effect, or if you're just in your second cycle and you know what your pitch deck is, you can block out and then just like pitch 1 blue to a gold, draw a 2nd blue, and then send Anathos, and it will have the 2 cards in the pitch. So you basically like 1 card 6 your opponent. It's really good stuff. Other cards are going to involve Test of Strength to try to get more gold, and then Wage Gold once again to try to get more gold. So the list is basically the same as the rest of them. The only difference, right, is we have a few more 2 blocks, but these are because these are the wager cards. Sideboard is almost the same, except we have cut down the size because we have a few less disruptive attacks compared to the other versions of these decks. So we're trying to make up for it by adding the cut down the sizes in here as well. Overall, that's the list. We'll go ahead and jump into a game. We take second going against Vincent here. This is going to be pretty sweet if we don't have to give up any cards, because we'll be able to play Money Where Your Mouth Is and then wager on the fault line. Although I guess if they do attack us, we can block with one of them, and I guess hope to draw a blue. If we draw a blue, we actually can use Betsy. It looks like that's not going to be the case, so they play Sigil and Reduce. That's very good. We cannot stop that. Looks like they still take it though, so we get our gold, but that's quite strong for them. They're going to send Whale. I am inclined to just fully shutting out the turn. Our hand isn't that amazing, and we at least deny the Rune Chant from the Deathly Whale, so all kind of makes sense to me. We still get to block for 4 here, which means we still get to send Anathos, or now that we know the top of the deck is disable. We could opt to just crack the golds. That way we can just draw it and put it in arsenal. I think I'm just gonna send the 4 though. They play another sigil. Pretty unfortunate we got by both of those in the first 2 turns of the game, but it is what it is. All right, so they play Besiege and then they target the Phantom Banshee. I think we're just gonna once again threaten like kind of a fatigue posture here. So let's go ahead and block out 9. All right, so they play red Mob Skies, and then they come with the Phantom Banshee. I'm gonna go ahead and take the Rune Chance here just because we need to block this. I think this is a higher priority. So we'll go ahead and I guess we could block like this for 6. We could also put the Chapeau in front and maybe just try to put one of these in arsenal. That might be kind of important to do at some point. We both whiff on our clash, and then they're gonna spend the rest of their turn to just flail. So if we really wanted to, we could just wager the Anathos right now, which I kind of don't dislike, to be honest, but it probably just makes more sense to stop the Rune Chant here. The Rune Chant might be important. They might be holding a card like Reduce, in which case I care about stopping the Rune Chant generation. That means that, you know, if this card in Arsenal, for instance, is like another copy of Reduce, which, I mean, they've shown us yellow, so I know there's probably 3 more copies in the deck, then it could be pretty awkward if this has just been stranded in Arsenal. I'd rather not take the damage and let them play it for free. They block with 2 Mob Skies. That's probably kind of a brick. Once again, we probably can just posture to fatigue if we really want. Like, I just don't think that they're gonna be able to beat all the 4 blocks and having all the blue pitches. They've already burned through some pretty important cards. Like, they've lost a lot of their go wide potential already. They're just gonna pass back again. In that case, I guess we'll play money. I guess we'll go ahead and send Cartilage Crush and make some most sense. We're able to wager it, which means that we can also give it Overpower with Betsy here. So this block for 2. We'll see if that D-React ended up being an Arsenal. Okay, it's not, so they actually take the Crush effect. We're gonna have to unfortunately IP the Test of Strength to hand. This is straight up unplayable, so I guess my hope here is that we just get to block out and they don't do anything. I guess if they were to fully pass, we could just play the Cartilage Crush. The cool thing is that because of the on-hits, it does mean that something like this Malefic is going to cost 1. Yeah, so there's a chance they may not do much else this turn. Okay, I guess they might double Runegate, or they'll probably go Deathly Delight into Flail. I guess it all makes sense. It's pretty unfortunate because I don't really want to be fishing for this, but I don't really know what else I'm supposed to do. And we'll go ahead and I guess we'll block like this. And then this is kind of interesting because blocking like this gives them the Quicken, which maybe disincentivizes them from sending the Flail of Agony. But if they don't send the Flail of Agony, then they don't gain 2 off the Deathly Delight. Okay, they end up taking that exchange, which I think actually benefits us more. So they play Putrid, and then they pay the 1 off the Vin set. So at that point, we're not going to bother paying for the AB because we're already taking it anyway. And then we'll go ahead and I guess just block for 9 here, holding up the blue. That way we can send back Cartilage Crush if we don't have anything else to do. So they're going to go ahead and activate Ebb and Fold and then play another Deathly Wail. We're going to, I guess, just AB the Rune Chance just because it puts the card back in deck. And play Venom Wraith. We only have 1 blue available, and I kind of want to find a way to sort of pivot to fatigue a little bit here. So we can opt to take the Arcane if we really want to, but I think what we're probably going to do instead here is we are going to take 1. We're going to AB one of these, and then we're probably just going to go ahead and Oasis on the Venom Wraith. And then at which point we can also play Arcane Polarity. So we go back up to 10, we'll pass again. We're not really trying to fatigue. I guess we're kind of looking to play that angle, but if we ever get the room, we will actually just want to send the Cartilage Crush. My opponent would have to give us 2 cards for it just to live, which I think is kind of important. Although there's a good chance they're probably sitting on a bunch of D-Reacts at this stage in the game. They've been pitching a lot. We're pretty close to second cycle, and there's still like 3 unaccounted for D-Reacts. Okay, and I guess also Yellow Sigils are suffering as well. So there's just a lot of cards that are not accounted for. So in that case, I'm kind of fine just kind of doing nothing here. I guess we'll go ahead and pay for the Rune Chance, and then we can just block for 2, pass again. We can send the 4 if we want to. I'm just kind of a little bit worried about potentially giving them free D-Reacts to play at this point. So actually, I'm going to pass back until we just have a couple more resources or a better line to play. At this point, I'm like pretty sure this card is like a reduced stuck in Arsenal. So I might as well wait for a turn where they tap out and don't have Rune Chance available. If that's the case, then they would have to pitch a whole card to play it, which is a lot better than us just free sending into them with 2 Rune Chance up. They banish Whale. So they'll get to play Whale, which is actually pretty good. So we're just going to block out again on this turn. And then I guess we'll just block for 6 again. And if they don't end on a Rune Chant, maybe we could consider sending the Amethyst here. They are probably out of D-Reacts. I haven't seen... They've shown 1 yellow sigil. What's the likelihood they're on another? I really got no clue. I'm just going to pass back again, though. This is kind of goofy, but... So they banished a red reduce, so that's kind of what we thought we were seeing with the deck. There's only 1 arcane. We'll go ahead and block it. Okay, so they do end up pitching a sigil here. I guess we'll block with On the Horizon, get to see the top of the deck. Ooh, it's a Money Where Your Mouth Is, so we can actually do something pretty cool with the golds here. So we can go ahead and crack the gold, draw it, play it, and then we can go ahead and send Cartilage Crush. This will come in for 10. We'll wager it. We unfortunately don't have the extra 2 resources to get the Overpower and close the game out, but this is a lot of damage. We see a block for 3 here. I'm assuming to see D-Rex get played on top. Okay, so it was a reduce in Arsenal for a while. All right, they get a block for 10. They go up to 4 Rune Chance, but I don't know if they have enough attacks left in deck, actually. So it looks like they have 1 more, probably 2 more Whales. They probably have a yellow and a red. They just put a red into Banish, but this is not quite enough. So they're going to play the Whale. We're going to go ahead and pitch for all 5 Rune Chance here, and then we're just going to go ahead and block for 6. So at this point, I don't think my opponent can win. I think we've seen them pitch some D-Reacts, and I think they have maybe 1 attack left in the deck. Looking at the graveyard here, I think this all kind of tracks. They might have 1 red Phantom, but I think that they're basically down to the last couple cards. I just don't think they can deterministically win, so we'll go ahead and see what happens, but I think we're just going to be pummeling Chokeslam here and hopefully stealing the game off of this. Actually, what we could do is we could wager on the Chapeau, but I know they have D-React still, so I guess I'll take the line that pushes the 4 over rather than just getting the +1. So we just have a block for 3. There's no reason to show the pummel yet. We'll see what they commit. They commit a Sigil of Suffering. We'll show the pummel now and see what they have. We unfortunately take 1 on this, but I think that's fine to push the pummel over. Okay, they don't have enough. So we get the game there. But yeah, okay, so they have the 1 Venom, they have the 1 Deathly Whale left. Like they just deterministically don't have enough damage left in the deck to actually win. They only have 21 damage left in the deck, and we can block all that out. So we don't have an issue like winning the game at this point. So overall, those are the matches for today. Overall, Guardian can play for a lot of fatigue angles, or you can disrupt if your opponent takes too long to set up with some of these slower decks. Overall, they feel like they all kind of play relatively the same, but with just slightly different flavors. But hopefully these were good and getting you started in playing the class. Until next time, thank you for watching.